People be creating there's like 30 memes of each other.
Hey guys, I want to welcome you back to another episode of Pistons Talk Podcast presented by FanDuel. I'm joined by a very special guest, the host of Locked On Pistons, Ku Khahil. If you don't know who Ku is, you live under a freaking rock. Ku, welcome back to the show, man.
Appreciate you having me, man. I was hoping that, we'd be talking about good things and celebrating, but Pistons were probably the shock of the first round, I think would be safe to say.
Oh, 100%. Well, congrats on 13K, by the way. Saw that you hit
Appreciate
13K on YouTube, man. That's a hell of an accomplishment. Road to 20K for sure.
Appreciate you, man. We're on our way.
Yeah, for sure. I want to just get into just this game yesterday. I think one of the first questions I do want to ask you is like, what do you think the biggest adjustments the Detroit Pistons need to make for game two?
I mean, there's quite a few adjustments I think they could make. I've obviously been ranting on all my social medias, and I ranted for about 20 minutes yesterday on the podcast about one in particular that I think is just the easiest one to make, which is just simply keep Ausar on the floor, like play him minutes like that. It's not hard, just play him minutes. So I think that's the easiest one. The next one I think is even more impactful, honestly, than just playing Ausar, but I think that one actually requires you to do some work, which is Jalen Duren needs to be involved. You need to get him going somehow. I thought this was probably his worst game I can remember watching from him in quite some time. And the Pistons have no chance, not just in this series, but doing anything in these playoffs if they're not going to get great production out of Jalen Duren, and they need to find a way to get that out of him. So those would be the two main adjustments I'd make. Just play Ausar, play him more, and then get Jalen Duren involved and find a way to get him aggressive on offense, because 8.7 rebounds against Wendell Carter Jr. It's not like he's going against Rudy Gobert or, Victor Wembanyama. I mean, he should not have been that non-existent in game one.
Do you think it was more of just Orlando's game plan with packing the paint, why he was frustrated? Because I felt like every time, like very early on in the first quarter, you saw that they were trying to go to that mismatch and Orlando just packed the paint. You think it was just more of Orlando's game plan versus Jalen Duren's production offensively?
I think a lot of it had to do. I think some of it had to do with Orlando's scheme against him. But this was something I've talked about on the podcast all year, is that you have seen like this huge, incredible jump from Jalen Duren as a scorer. He has been incredible as a scorer this year. He's taken such a jump. But what came with that was a very big step back, I think, in his passing. And throughout the season, you live with it because it was just an overwhelming positive and overwhelming something that you just, if we're losing passing, it is what it is. Means so much more right now. We need it, to where you just didn't really care about it. And I would just bring it up every now and then, like, hey, we're not seeing the same kind of passing from him. He's turned the ball over and then he has assists. Like, it's not the scoring will take it, but eventually I think the passing's got to come around. And Orlando did exactly why Zach Lowe talked about this on the Bill Simmons podcast, that they had heard from scouts that they were worried about during going into the playoffs. And it was something I think we saw in game one, which was, like you mentioned, Orlando was packing the paint. Orlando was throwing multiple bodies at him, but there were avenues to open guys. He could have found multiple players open. There's a play going around on Twitter I had just seen where Duren gets the ball on the right block, and Isaiah Stewart's wide open in the left corner for an easy pass there. Man left him, or Ausar is diving right down the middle of the floor. He could dump it off to him, and instead he goes up with the shot and gets blocked. So I think that, yes, Orlando did do a good adjustment trying to take the scoring away from him. But if Jalen Duren would make Orlando pay as a passer, they would stop playing that way. Like if they were showing this many bodies and he could routinely beat them with dump offs to Ausar or corner skip passes to whoever they're tagging off of, they would be scared to do that. And then that would then reopen his scoring opportunities. I think that's the big adjustment he's going to have to make in the playoffs.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot too. Like there was a lot of opportunities for him just to make the extra pass, but it seemed like he was just in like a score mentality first. That Ausar pass, that Ausar play where he kind of cut. I know exactly what you're talking about. I almost threw my remote at the TV because I was like, bro, he's right there. But
yeah.
Honestly, like I think you're right. He does have to kind of like make that extra read, because we've seen it this year. Like there's been flashes of him like making the correct read. I believe there was I can't remember which game it was, but he had the ball in his hands and it was just a corner three. It might have been Tobias or Javonte Green where he made the read, but I think it's just more watching film and kind of like paying attention more to the details. And like you mentioned, it's Wendell Carter. I feel like he played better against Rudy Gobert in the 2 games we saw in the regular season. Even he was more aggressive against Victor Wembanyama. So I'm with you. I think they do need to, focus more on just kind of making the extra pass, because I felt like this was one game where they really weren't moving the ball whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, during the final 10 games of the season, averaged 4 assists a game. And I talked about in the podcast, I was like, maybe this final stretch without Cade, you started to see him start to blend the scoring with the passing to where he doesn't have to turn on pass mode and turn off score mode, or turn on score mode and turn off pass mode, where he maybe has figured out how to have both modes on and just be able to make teams pay. And that was completely not the case against Orlando. It felt like he was completely thrown off that they were sending so many bodies at him. Early in the first quarter, I believe he had 3 turnovers in the first quarter off of him, either in the first quarter or the first half, where there was one where he tried to do a crossover on Wendell, and there was a guy helping at the block. He could have hit that for a corner skip pass. There's a pass I was talking about earlier into the game as well. There was another one he tried driving against. I believe it was also Wendell Carter Jr. again, but then Paolo helped down at the nail, and he got ripped up, and it hit off his foot, went out of bounds. I think I think it's more so he was just, I don't know why, but it seems like he was just shocked at how much attention was being thrown at him, and he just wasn't in the mental space to be able to make these reads, which I think was really killer for the Pistons. I think you started to see even Cade kind of, I don't know if it wasn't strictly just Duren, but I feel like you kind of felt Cade in the second half realized, okay, no one else has it. I need to just, I'm just going to take over here. I'm just going to do everything I possibly can to try to deliver us a win here, because no one else has it right now. I'm just going to get these shots up. Whereas like in the first quarter, there was a play where Cade tries to lob it to Duren, and it gets knocked away. He could have dribbled up into a pull-up. No one was in front of him, or he could have kicked it out to Duncan for a 3. In the second half, he was coming off these picks. He was no longer looking for lobs. He was coming off the screens, hitting pull-up 3s. He was coming off looking for a mid-range pull-up. He was putting his back to his defender, using his size to elevate over him. So I think Cade adjusted in real time to what he felt like his teammates, just specifically Duren, just was not in the space that you need them to be in.
Yeah, I feel like Cade definitely made adjustments coming out of halftime. It kind of seemed like he was just trying to get everyone involved, and then it was like, okay, like if they don't have it, I'm just going to take over. I mean, we've seen that countless times by Cade. But one other player I did kind of want to touch on is like, didn't really see too much Danish Jenkins, Cade Cunningham minutes. I didn't think we're going to get it in the playoffs. Were you kind of surprised by that?
Surprised by which part?
Just Danish being out there with Cade.
I was very surprised about them closing with Danish. Yes, that part I was very. Not only was I surprised by it, I was pretty frustrated about it. But look, the Danish Cade duo, it's been something that a lot of fans have talked about. That like, oh, Danish plays so well when Cade's out, and then when Cade's back, he doesn't play as well. I understand what JB is thinking. I'm not gonna act like I don't understand what he's thinking. I get what he's thinking, that give Cade another ball handler on the floor, another guy that can create. That should, or take away some of the pressure that Cade's going to deal with. The problem is that Danish is he rides these highs and lows and these hot and cold stretches, and it really all is just tied to his 3-point shot making. He's not a very good finisher in the inside the arc. He was shooting around 43% on 2s this year, but he's been such a high impactful 3-point shooter at times where he's making like 44%, especially during that stretch without Cade, to where you really are just completely living or dying with, okay, is Danish hot from 3 in this game? If he is, okay, you're probably going to have a great one. If he's not, he's going to struggle in this one. I was especially surprised that we saw Cade and Danish in the fourth, when the adjustment JB had made. Franz was killing them in the first part of the fourth quarter, getting to the basket over and over against Tobias. And then the counter coming out of the timeout was they got smaller, and you often saw Danish get switched on the Franz a ton, and that created a whole nother issue. So I'm not saying that they shouldn't ever run the Cade Danish minutes. I get why you do. But you need to be careful in the minutes you do it, I think, 1. And 2, Danish needs to be playing well, because if he's not hitting 3s, we have a season-long sample that he's just not good enough inside the arc. And we have a bit of a sample size that him and Cade aren't the greatest fit together for whatever reason it is. And again, I think it really just ties to if he's hitting 3s or not. I just think they need to be careful about when they decide to employ those lineups, and specifically when Danish is on fire.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think what was frustrating was just like the over dribbling and not moving the ball when I saw those two out there together because when Cade was out, I felt like they were really moving the ball. I mean, there'd be games where they're having like 30, 35 assists. It's just not so much ball movement with those two in the backcourt. And I agree with you. Like when he's not hitting shots, it's very apparent that he's not impactful. I was surprised maybe like if you want another two guard out there, like why not just try a Cade, Kevin Herter?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, we'll get a little bit into rotations a little bit later. I did want to kind of circle back to the Ausar Thompson stuff because I really was confused that he only played 9 minutes in the second half. I mean, I can maybe understand where JB's coming from if you want to be more offensive, but what was your take with Ausar Thompson's minutes in game one?
You got 20 minutes?
Let's go.
I mean, look, this cannot be a replication of last year, man. We cannot find this cannot happen again. I will pop a blood vessel if this happens again. There is what I've been preaching this message all season long to the people who complain about Ausar not being able to shoot. It simply has not mattered with the trio of Cade, Duren, and Ausar. They have been so dominant, it just does not matter. And then to the people that would say, well, you need spacing in the playoffs, like you need to bring in more shooters, blah, 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 all that, whatever. The offense they were, according to net rating, according to offensive rating, defensive rating in the second half, they were 30 points worse with Ausar off the floor and Danis on. 30 points worse on offense, not offense and defense. It's offense. Their offensive rating was 30 points worse without Ausar on the floor. So it doesn't bear out eye test wise. It doesn't bear out analytically. The stats don't match it. We've seen them try to do this, have this excuse of, oh, we're going offense for defense. Last year in the playoffs, during this regular season, and now in game one, I don't think it ever has worked. I don't know if we've seen this offense or defense for offense sub work one time for the Pistons in this. Like it never does. And it's because what Ausar brings is a lot of what the Pistons offense is. What people don't comprehend, I feel like that support these decisions, and maybe even JB at this point, is that the belief of if you bring in someone else that has more of a shot than Ausar, that they will then change the spacing. They do not. The Orlando Magic, if you go back and watch game one, Tobias is a 35% three-point shooter. Guess what they were doing? They were leaving him open. Tobias can shoot. And they're going to leave him open and dare him to shoot. Why? Because Tobias is not a high-volume three-point shooter. He doesn't want to give up 7 threes. And if he does, he's probably not going to make a lot of them because it's just not part of his game. They were guarding Tobias the same way. They were guarding Danis the same way. They're still sitting in the nail. They're still sitting in the gap. It doesn't matter if it's Ausar or Danis there. They're still sitting in the gap because the Magic and most NBA teams will decide we will sit in the gap unless it's Duncan Robinson, and they guarded Kevin Herter with a lot of respect yesterday. Unless it's one of those two guys, we would rather help in the gap against Cade and make it to where Cade can't score rather than give these guys open threes, or we'll live with them taking threes. And especially in a game where Danis isn't hitting, it completely, because now you're not getting the defensive stuff. You're not getting the transition opportunities. By the way, Ausar led them in rebounding, so you're not getting the rebounding on either end of the floor. You're not getting transition stuff. You're not getting the cuts to the basket. You're not getting the secondary playmaking. You're not getting all of this other stuff that he brings in an effort to try to add spacing when you don't have you don't have the spacing that you're trying to add. I've said this numerous times before. If they had a 6th man of the year guy, if they had a Norman Powell, if they had a Lou Williams, and you were like, okay, we're going to bring that guy into the game for Ausar, then I would at least understand the idea behind it. Because then you're at least bringing in someone who is going to help the offense. Like their whole thing is we're an offensive scorer. We're offensive firepower, bringing him in. He's going to actually help the offense. The Pistons don't have that. All they're doing is bringing in guys that are worse at things than Ausar, can shoot a little better than him, but not to a point where it's actually creating any of a big difference within the half court. So now your offense is getting worse, despite the fact you think you're adding spacing. Now, and your defense is just completely falling off a cliff. You're getting none of the transition opportunities, which makes your team offense the best offense it is, and you're not getting anything on the glass. It makes no sense to me, along with the fact that every single piece of data point for now 2 years now says the offense is better with Ausar on the floor, despite the fact he can't shoot. It's going to kill me. It's going to kill me. Last thing I'll say, Cade, I know I went around. I'm sorry. Cade, at the beginning of the fourth quarter, went crazy. He looked like, I felt like for 10 minutes of the game, I was watching the best player in the NBA. He was going, it was pure superstar MVP. I'm taking over. We're getting this win. I'm leading us there. He was going crazy, but it did not matter because the Magic started off 7 for 7 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
If they would have got 2 to 3 stops, all of a sudden we might be looking at a different thing. But God forbid, leave your top 3 defensive player of the year finalists on the bench as Franz Wagner penetrates the paint over and over and over again. That's my rant. Go ahead.
No, I'm with you. I would rather lose with the star on the court than watch him rot on the bench.
Yeah.
Like, I think so many people are just so fixated on his lack of a jump shot right now that they think that he's not impactful when, like you said, you can look at the data. The data says that the Pistons are a better basketball team with Ausar Thompson on the court. It's like the deflections, the switching defensively, the help side defense with Jalen Duren. Like, it's just all the little things that don't show up in the box score, which I don't really understand how you watch Franz and Paulo and Desmond Bane just go and it's a layup line. You have like no paint defense whatsoever. I don't understand how you only play him 9 minutes. It made no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah. The other part of it too, that this is probably the biggest point that I really just don't comprehend why JB does this. I really don't. The biggest point of this is that JB, if he does not want to play Ausar Thompson late, which if he doesn't, I think that is absolutely going to kill the Pistons like it did last year against the Knicks. But so be it. If that's what he wants to do, if he doesn't want to trust Ausar late into the fourth quarters, if that is the reality you're operating in, why is his rotation set into a way that would tell you that that's what they want to do, though? Because they're bringing him out of games consistently in the third quarter around the 7-minute mark, 6-minute mark. And the only reason why you do that with the player is, okay, we're planning to bring him back in at the 7-8-minute mark and let him play the rest of the fourth. If you're taking him out at the 6-7-minute mark, and then you're still not going to bring him back in at the 8-minute mark and let him play out the stretch because you don't trust him, then don't bring him out at the 6-minute mark. Take him out at the 9-minute mark, have him be the first sub out, then bring him back in at like the 3-minute mark in the third, have him play into the 8-minute mark of the fourth or whatever, have him play into the fourth, and then you can sub him out. So then at least you're not playing him 5 minutes in the second half. Now you can at least get 14 minutes out of him in the second half. You just structure your rotation differently. But the insistence to play him 6 minutes of the first third quarter, take him out because, we're going to bring him back in the fourth, just for you to not actually bring him back in the fourth. Now you just wasted an entire half with the top 3 defensive player of the year guy on the bench, where all the numbers tell you are a much better basketball team with them on the floor because you don't want to change your rotation. So that's like the other thing that's just so insane to me is that, one, you don't want to play him late. I think that's insane. But 2, if you don't want to play him late, then change your rotation into where you're at least getting minutes out of him in other parts of the second half. Just having him non-existent in the second half is just utterly lunacy to me. Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah, it's very frustrating to watch as a fan. I agree with everything you said. You weren't kidding when you said you got 20 minutes.
I mean, I went 20 minutes yesterday. This is one of the most frustrating things I have witnessed watching the Pistons, when all of the data backs it up and the eye test backs it up, and when you are scoring so well offensively and you just cannot get a stop. The Magic, the Orlando, not the Warriors of 2016. We're not talking about OKC, Boston, Cleveland. The Magic started 7 for 7 in the fourth quarter. I believe they only missed 4 shots in the fourth quarter. Yeah. It didn't matter how hot Cade was because they couldn't get a damn stop. And the adjustment was to bring Danis, and he got switched on the Franz. Like, I don't know what you were playing on. Like, it was killing me.
I mean, all you can do is kind of just laugh through the pain because it's just like, okay, yeah, it's going to be one of those nights where the rotations just make no freaking sense whatsoever. But
yeah, it is what it is, man.
We'll get into our next segment. So, presented by FanDuel. Now, they have actually the Detroit Pistons right now, Ku, as a 9.5-point favorite. Are you kind of surprised that the Pistons are 9.5-point favorites? They were 8.5-point favorites, I believe, last game as well.
I mean, I tweeted out earlier, I am going to set a bet that they will cover by at least 12 points.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think they will come out and very much handle the Magic in game 2. So I am not shocked that they're minus 9.5. I think the Pistons will still win the series. I think they'll win the next 4 games.
Oh, damn, man. You're all in. You're all in. I love it.
The Magic are not the Magic are not that good of a basketball team. They have been inconsistent all year, even with the Pistons playing. I thought the Pistons played an F game in this first game. I thought they played as bad as they possibly could have ever imagined playing but yet they had multiple chances to take the lead. I thought there was just a few coaching decisions that maybe could have given them a chance to pull it off late. They played absolutely horrible in this game, and we're still in it all the way to the end. It wasn't like Orlando. I fully expect the Pistons to play much better. And if they play better, especially in the first quarter, if they don't just play their F game in the first quarter, I think they still able to pull this one out. So I know this first game was really rough, very, very upset about it, but I think the Pistons are just a much better basketball team. I think they'll prove that the next 4 games.
I do agree with you. Orlando's probably played their best 2 basketball games of the season versus Charlotte and Detroit. Like, I think that's the Magic's A game. Like, I haven't seen defense like that probably since like maybe a year or 2 ago, because like all year they've been so up and down. I do agree with you, but I was kind of surprised to see the lines like that. But hey, maybe they can get their first home playoff win. I think I was in middle school the last time that happened, so it's been a minute.
I may not have been alive, so.
Now you're making me feel old.
No, I was like, what, 2008? I was 10. Yeah, 10 so I was elementary school.
Oh man, it's been a minute. I know we kind of talked about rotations and lineups and certain players not playing, but like, are there certain lineups that you would like to see the Pistons now? Maybe it's a bench lineup you'd like to see. Maybe it's, we mentioned maybe throwing Kevin Huerter out there. Is there certain lineups that you'd like to see?
No, I don't know if there's a specific lineup that I want to see. Whereas the rotation, I'd like to just see get cut. I don't see the point of. They played 11 guys in the playoff game, man. This is the playoffs. You play your best players. There's nothing. You're not saving them for anything no more. Like, there's nothing. What are you now? I know Cade played 40 minutes, but your best players should be playing the majority of the game. Like Isaiah Stewart, I thought was much better than Duren in this game. He only played 18 minutes in this game. I don't get that one. Kevin Huerter, I know he only hit 1 3, but I thought he played much better off the catch, moving the ball, being in the right. Like, he just is always playing the right way. I would play him more. I don't see the point in wasting 4 minutes just to play Karis LeVert and Javonte Green. And that's not to say that they played horrible in their 4 minutes, but what is the point in playing somebody 4 minutes in a game outside of being able to say you just played them? Like, if you want Javonte to be in the rotation, fair enough, then give him minutes where he actually can make an impact. All you're doing is providing inconsistent play for your team throughout the game and not allowing guys to really get into a rhythm and allowing your best players to make the biggest impact. Like the Pistons, especially after game 1, blowing game 1 like this, you should be relying on your best players to just shut the Magic up, shut the national noise up in game 2, and just get a win and make it clear we are the 1 seed. That first game was a fluke. We're setting the tone here. I don't see the point in playing 11 guys when you're playing 2 guys 4 minutes and you only played Ron 10 minutes. Like, it's not. It's pick your guys that you want to play them, and then guys who are out the rotation. I mean, tough. It's the playoffs. Like, you play your best guys. Like, that's where I'm at with it. So I don't have a specific lineup, but that's where I'm at with the rotation.
I feel like you should have a big enough sample size to know who you can count on in the playoffs. Like, I was very surprised Karis LeVert only got 4 minutes. I thought he did okay. Offensively did hit a 3. There were some things defensively maybe JB didn't like, but I was just, when you kind of look at the bench minutes and the way they're distributed, I was surprised Jalen Duren played 30 minutes.
I was too.
Considering how bad he played defensively. Like, I would have just rolled the dice with Paul Reed personally, just to kind of see, like, maybe he can blitz in the pick and roll, disrupt some stuff out there, but didn't really see that. But, hopefully, we don't get 11, 12 guys in a playoff rotation. I know JB has talked all year about, like, we're 1 through 18, but I don't really think you can get away with that in the playoffs.
No, you're not going to get away with it in the playoffs. And I agree with you. Paul Reed, I would have, if you told me the Pistons went 11 deep and then told me how poorly Duren played, I would have bet all the money in my bank account that one of the players that they made room for was Paul Reed. Like, with how bad Jalen Duren was playing, and if Stu happens to be on a minutes restriction, because I saw some people trying to throw that out there that maybe he's still on a minutes restriction. We haven't been told that. We would have to assume that. But if that is the case, there was no better game to press the B-ball Paul button than this one. Duren did not have it. He was. This was, I think, maybe the worst game of his season. Paul Reed should have been called upon if you were going to go to 11 deep for somebody. I'm shocked that he wasn't called upon with how well or how badly Duren had played. But yeah, look, I think what the Pistons, you need to find your 9 guys that you want to play. Play Cade, Ausar, Duren. I'm going to assume that Duren will not play as bad like this. I have belief that he will not look this bad. He will turn it around. He's too important. Those 3 guys are your best players. Play them heavy minutes. Duncan, Tobias, obviously, and then find your 4 guys off the bench that can spare him that you trust, whether it be Karras, whether it be Danis, whether it be Javonte, Stu, Ron Holland, Herter, whatever it is. Pick your 4 guys that you trust that can provide for you and ride with them. You're not getting anything out of playing some guys 4 minutes, then 5, then 7 minutes. Like there's no point. Those are minutes that could go to other guys that are more impactful and are young and able to play 30 minutes in a playoff game. Like, come on.
Yeah, it was way too sporadic. It kind of just felt like you're throwing something in the wall, hoping something sticks. But I feel like you should know by now who you can trust. But hopefully we get a little bit more consistency, because I was thinking that maybe 8 to 9 guys. I was not expecting, like you mentioned, 11 guys in a playoff series. But we'll have to wait and see on Wednesday what does happen.
Yeah, I mean, 10 guys I thought was the deepest they would go. I did not think I'd see them try to pull 11 guys in a rotation in a playoff game. I think that was crazy.
Yeah, I was honestly kind of surprised. We got one more segment with this podcast, and then we will wrap it up. So I know you mentioned, like, you think this is just going to be a bounce back game for the Detroit Pistons. So let's just kind of make our prediction. So how many points do you think the Pistons are going to be winning by?
At least 12 points. I think they might win by 15 plus.
Oh.
I think they will come out here and dominate the Magic in game 2. But I see a lot of people talking about what the Magic did is replicable. They can do it again to the Pistons. I do not think that's the case. The Pistons were the second best defense in the NBA all season. Since November, there was a large stretch when they were just the best defense in basketball. You did not see that in the first quarter of this game. The Detroit Pistons do not get out-rebounded. It doesn't matter who they play against. They do not get killed in the glass like they did in this game. They don't allow what happened in the first quarter in a game. They don't let that happen. This is one of the best defenses in the entire NBA. They are better than every other defense than OKC Thunder. All their guys were healthy. I do not think that the Orlando Magic will be able to do what they did again against this kind of team. They will not dominate the paint against the Pistons. I would be utterly shocked if the Pistons lost another game in the paint against the Magic. I would be utterly shocked if they lost another rebounding battle against the Orlando Magic. I don't see that kind of stuff happening. I do not think that they will turn the ball over more than the Orlando Magic again. The Pistons were the best team in the NBA at forcing turnovers. That will not happen again. This was a F game from the Detroit Pistons, and they still had a chance to win. They were at halftime after playing, I think, maybe their worst quarter of the year in the first quarter, and they were at halftime down by 4 points. They had a chance to tie the game, and 6 minutes left in the third quarter, and JB took Ausar and Cade out, and the Magic immediately went on a 9-1 run, and I felt like that really hurt them. But my point is that despite the Pistons playing an absolute horrible game, they had multiple chances throughout this game to try to take over, try to come back, take the lead, and really swing momentum to their side. And that was with an F game. It'd be different if the Pistons won in the ways that they've won all year and then lost still. Like if they won the rebounding battle and then still lost against Orlando because someone went off. If they forced a ton of turnovers but weren't able to score on the turnovers or something like that, then I'd get it. The Pistons do not lose the margin games. They just don't. They haven't done it all year. They do not lose the turnover battle. They do not lose the rebounding battle. They do not lose the offensive rebounding battle for damn sure. And they don't lose the points in the paint battle. That's something that no team in the NBA has been able to beat them on consistently. They lost all of those areas in game 1. I do not think that will ever happen again. I think they will win the next 4 games. I think they'll punish Orlando inside. There's no way that happens again.
I think what you said is like really, it was a really great point. Like Pistons played their F game and they still had a chance to win this game. Like I was really shocked when I looked at the points in the paint and they lost by 20. Like I don't think that's happened all season.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, like the rebounding battle, like I expect them to win that as well. Don't let like those just 50-50 balls. I think collectively as a team, they do need to do a better job of like crashing the glass, because so many times this year, if there is a long rebound, some of them just like stand around because I don't know if it's, they want to have those fast break points or just transition buckets, but I think they do have to do a better job of rebounding. Like you said, Orlando played their A game when we played our F game and we still had a chance to win this one. If I did have to make a prediction myself, I think they win by 5. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think Orlando's really going to go down swinging. just because I think what they've been doing these past 2 games, I think their confidence is at an all-time high. I've never seen Paolo Banchero hit shots like this in the probably his first couple of years in the season. I think his confidence is really high. Franz looks healthy, but I do think the Pistons will bounce back and win this one. Just make your free throws, please. Make your free throws.
Look, Paolo was the worst pull-up shooter in the NBA this year by a wide margin. That's not opinion. That is factual. He was the worst pull-up shooter in the NBA this year, and he was hitting post fadeaways, step back long twos. If the Magic win that way, then let them win that way. And again, like you said, despite that, the Pistons were in the game to the very end with them playing an F game. I think they will. Their physicality will show up in the second game. Their defense will show up in this second game, and I think they will control the game convincingly from the get-go.
Yeah, same here. I agree with everything you said. I think it's going to be a game where, they watch the film these next couple of days, bounce back, come out as the aggressor. I was really surprised that they were down like 18-5 within the first couple of minutes of the game. Felt like they really weren't ready until like maybe the second quarters when the bench unit came in. But hopefully that they do come in and, take the Magic a little bit more seriously and just kind of lock in. But I want to wrap this podcast up. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I do want to give you a chance to plug and promote where people can find you. I know you do Locked On Pistons. I know there's a Substack. I don't know if there's anything else that where people can follow you at.
No, you can just follow me over on Twitter. That's it, at Ku Khahil. You can also, obviously, like you mentioned, you can follow the podcast, wherever podcast platforms you guys listen to this on. Follow it over on YouTube as well. Last point I want to bring up, Orlando Magic were the 18th offense in the NBA this year. 18th offense. The Pistons allowed them to score 2 30-point quarters. The Pistons were the second best defense in the NBA. That's not going to happen again. This is not an elite offensive basketball team. The Pistons are one of the best defensive teams in the league. I don't think they're going to make another 30-point quarter in this second game. It won't happen.
Okay. Well, we'll see, man. But I do appreciate you making the time, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. We're going to be talking to Orlando Magic HQ, but that's going to be really late at night. So you guys can be on the lookout for that. But hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And as always, go Pistons. Peace.